Good afternoon. Today we're here on another edition of So You're a Musician, and we're here with Jonathan Gardner, and he's going to tell us about his life as a professional musician. So Jonathan, what is it that you do as a musician?
Well, ironically, I'm not really a musician, but I just play one on TV. I'm joking. I started out a musician when I was in grade school. I started out with the trumpet.
Okay.
No, just joking. It was a brass trombone.
Okay.
And I had a brand new trombone. It was really great. I was in band a couple of years, but man, I really wasn't digging it. So I traded in my trombone and picked up a guitar.
Okay.
And played guitar for years and years, wrote some songs, played in a band, and just realized shortly after doing the first professional recording that I was not good enough guitar player to make any money. And so I was kind of seeing what was going on behind the glass, and that kind of sparked my interest in the behind-the-scenes technical aspect of everything. So my profession at this point is a professional audio engineer, and I'm also a consultant and do a lot of training and design work for churches and all kinds of different organizations that need professional sound and different AV applications.
Okay. So you make the musician sound good.
Correct.
All right.
I do my best to alter the sound if necessary, or turn it up when it's required.
Good. Okay. So how did you learn how to do that? Did you go to school, or do you have how did you do that?
Well, a lot of stuff is kind of picked up as you go, because the nature of the sound industry is it's so chaotic just by its very nature. And so I did spend some time in Tempe, Arizona at the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences.
Okay.
It was a 2-year program that focused on like the digital technology, the recording aspect of making records and that kind of thing. And so that was really awesome. I got a lot of good experience, a lot of good exposure with different artists in the recording scene. And so after the conservatory, I did some work at a commercial studio here in Oklahoma. And that was really cool. Learned a lot, met a lot of people. But after about 5 years, I decided to get out of the recording and focus more on the live sound and design and that kind of thing. And so that's what I do now, and keeps me very busy.
Okay, that's what I've heard. I know your family, so I've heard that you travel a bit. Does it take you around a lot? Do you travel a lot? And
yeah, just got back from 2 weeks in Newfoundland, which was a pretty sweet little venture. But yeah, it usually whenever you're working with bands, and there's venues all over the country, and there's tour schedules and things like that, and so whenever that happens, you generally I'll switch from just being the audio engineer to kind of managing the tour production, the daily ins and outs, making sure the band guys get up on time, everybody's there when it's time to go, the sound check, the merch is there, that we've got our food and all that kind of stuff. So, by the very nature of the industry having this chaos inherent to it, you have to wear a lot of hats, and you have to be able to multitask, you have to be able to think on your feet, and I think that's what draws me to it, because it's a challenge, and it's one of those things that you're always going to continue to learn.
Right.
Like some professions, I feel like there's this plateau of once you attain a certain amount of knowledge, then you've reached that plateau, and you're just kind of done learning.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about my industry is that the tools that we use are always changing, and the people that are playing the music are always changing, and so it's just a constant fluid structure that you get to adapt to.
Okay, well, good. Well, what's the most challenging situation that you found yourself in, where you had to change hats really quickly, or just improvise to come up with a solution? What's
man.
Or at least a challenging, a challenging situation?
Well, a lot of times whenever we're doing live production, you're on a big festival stage, and you've got a lot of big name artists, and you have about 3 to 5 minutes to get one band on stage, the next band off, and make sure everything works, because there's 15,000 people that are planning on when that band does its intro and they hit, they want everything to be there.
Right.
And so that can be a little bit stressful, but it's like it's a rush of adrenaline because you've got all this thing going on in your head and you want to make sure that it all just lines up. So when that band hits that downbeat, it's just rocking. So that's what I like.
Good. It sounds
it's
very
the challenge
challenging.
that I like.
Yeah, it sounds very challenging. Well, I bet a lot of students would be drawn to doing things like this. So what would be an encouragement or something that you might caution them, or something that, what are some of the difficulties that you face?
Well, currently we're going through a process where I'm bringing on a lot of interns, a lot of students of the industry that are maybe musicians that want to supplement their income, or they want to learn more about the technical aspects, because there's really a dichotomy with the artistry and the technology.
Right.
And typically, you've got one or the other, with the artist and with the techie guys like myself, that focus on a lot of the technical aspects, but then you've got to be able to pull back from the technical stuff and think about what you're really doing is creating art.
Right.
As a musician, as a sound engineer. And so there's just a level of just being able to slide back and forth between those areas. I would tell young people that are looking to get into the sound industry, run. Just kidding. Run away, go to school. No, not at all. Like I said earlier, this is one of those things where you're always learning. So just like anything else, don't be afraid to ask questions. You're going to make mistakes, and the best way to learn is to be around somebody that's been doing it for a long time,
right.
that has made those mistakes, and just like Russ was saying earlier, with a mentor, you're able to just soak in information that
right.
other people have learned and experienced. And so that's one of the things, like, I love being around people that are just way smarter than me when it comes to like the different elements of art, with the musicians playing all these crazy scales and
right.
The Nashville number system, which blows my mind, and circle of fifths and things like that are just really cool. I just like absorbing it because you can respect those people, and when you work with people, they're doing their talents
right.
and their skills, and we're all just using our gifts, to the full extent, and that's really what makes my favorite mixing experience, church music. That's what makes it great.
Right. I think that's one of the beautiful things about music, is just the teamwork aspect of it. So, okay, well, what's one of the coolest things that you've gotten to do?
The coolest things? Well, I think that my vocation is a vacation, because I get to work with a lot of cool people, and it's pretty sweet. Last year, though, I had the opportunity to be the crew chief for a live concert in a private ranch in Texas.
Cool.
It was about 300,000 acres.
Wow.
There's an airport on this ranch. It's like, this guy's a billionaire.
Yeah.
He's super loaded. But he was throwing a surprise party for 300 of his closest friends. So
I guess you'd have 300 of your closest friends as a billionaire.
Yeah. So his friends, they fly into his ranch. They've got guest houses. It's very legit. So on the B stage, we had the original Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd and Jim Belushi.
That's
you
cool.
guys probably don't know who they are. Ask your parents.
Yes.
They're legit. They're really cool. So those guys were playing on the B stage. And then this billionaire guy, he's had a secret crush on Heather Locklear for years. So his wife thought, well, why not just have Heather fly in? So Heather flies in. She surprises him, because it's his birthday. And on the main stage, it was a secret who the artist was. And so we were there for about a week getting everything set up. It was just this magnificent structure just out in his backyard, like on the cliff. It was so amazing.
Cool.
But so I got to deploy the sound system for the Eagles.
Wow.
And
oh my goodness, how fun.
And it was great.
Goodness, that is cool.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It sounded amazing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Those guys are legends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a lot of fun.
If you guys don't know who the Eagles are, you need to stay in school.
Definitely.
Yeah, ask me. Anyway, wow, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so what about your business? Tell us more about your business. What's it called and what do you do?
The business is Everything Audio, and our specialty is sound and church training and consulting. And so what we do is a lot of times the people that are working in the church are volunteers in the sound department. You know, you've got the band people are sometimes not full-time musicians.
Right.
They're teachers, they're lawyers, they could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do with the Sound in Church training is it's basically a hands-on training for the people that are volunteers with their equipment. I go through and I optimize their system.
Uh-huh.
I make sure that everything's plugged in properly, it's working, it sounds the best that it can sound.
Okay.
And then I basically go through all their components and say, this is what these knobs do, this is what to expect when you turn this, because
Right.
a lot of times they just don't go there, they don't focus on it,
Right.
and they just flip the switch, turn it on, and just sit back there.
That's right.
So we teach them how to use their equipment, and we teach them how to communicate with the band, how to look for hand signals, how to be proactive, keep your head up, you know, and just pay attention.
Right.
Just like the drummer has to pay attention,
Right.
the worship leader has to pay attention. If you're in the booth doing sound, doing lights, doing video, you need to pay attention as well.
That's right.
So in addition to that, we also talk about the current status of the church, if they're wanting to upgrade, what kind of music, if they're changing their styles, things like that, because that's a popular thing now too.
Right.
Is a lot of churches are going from a traditional style to a contemporary. There's little swagger words like blended, things like that. So we also make sure that their infrastructure, that they're currently working on, if they're going in this other direction, we try to help them build on the standards, the industry standards, so that whenever they grow, you know, they're growing on a solid foundation and not just like throwing money at, you know, silly
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, great. I think that's fantastic.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. All right. That's Jonathan Gardner. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Ooh.